This is my lightsaber. I'm a knight of the Jedi Order, so see this thing makes sounds if you hit it, basically. It doesn't always flash like that. You can change settings. I'm not sure how I even did that. Yeah, so I'm gonna show this thing off. Um, yeah, isn't that cool? So basically, oh, here's turn it off. Yeah, I hope I make any sense tonight. It still makes sounds even after the lights off. Hope I make any sense here, seriously. Yeah, welcome back to my channel, Early Solid Dog channel. Continue on from last night. I was showing this IQ bell curve, but this is not scientifically accurate perfectly, but it's fairly good. You know, number of people and intelligence level low to high. Most people fall like in the middle, average intelligence. The majority would be there, whereas on the outsides, at the limits, would be extremely low and extremely high IQ, basically. Um, and I was mentioning this because it completely ruins or yeah, let's just say it provides a basis for some good arguments against Dan's idea or concept of social norms. See, this is what I figured out about what's going on here. This is what I figured out. Uh, Dan's idea of social norms is that everyone should try to follow social norms. And, since social norms are that which is normative, it stands to reason that these norms originate from what goes on with the majority who are at the center. And now, given like ongoing history, norms have a force and power which are coming from the past as well. But it's always come from the central part of that there, probably. Usually in culture, is an entrenched thing, so it's been going on for a long time, usually, with things. And I was saying it stands to reason that people, on the extreme ends, they have less of a good chance of obeying social norms, basically. Now, what Dan's type wants to do is to make it so that society kills you if you are not part of the normative thing, the normative standard way, which is what the center of this probably acts like. Um, and, applying social norms is the way of doing that. And so Dan thinks to do away with all these people here on this side of the line and all these people here, which is, at face value, that's not fair to the special ed people and to the geniuses of society, basically. But Dan and his type would make it so that society does that for him. See, he identifies himself as a type who gets along with people that obey norms. He probably realized that all his friends obey norms. Um, the people that he gets along with, or for some reason, he thinks he can do away with his enemies in this capacity level by having society kill you if you do not apply social norms properly. So then once this argument got into, or once this way of thinking reached me from him somehow, I realized what we're really dealing with is something like this, where it can be looked at in terms of intelligence and other components or whatever. It doesn't have to do with the effectiveness of housing or what the politicians, what the government provides for people. They can't make someone one IQ point smarter or less. This is just the way that life is. Most teachers know if you're teaching class right, your students' grades or on a test fall within this type of bell curve on a typical basis. It's a normal result from testing a class, and grades will fall normally within this type of curve. Most students receive a C or so, or a B, in that range. The ones that get A's are less, and the ones that get F's are less in number. That's normalcy. That's normalcy, you see. There's not a thing the government can do about it. That's the way God made people. But in God's sight, all men are created equal, right? An equal footing, more or less, because in comparison to a divine creator who's all powerful, all knowing, we're much less. We're at a strata that's much less. When when viewed in that capacity, these differences are not like that much different. Uh, People are not that much different from each other. It's getting nitpicky and odd and very strange to insist like on social norms when such a wide diversity of people with different skills, trades and occupations, different outlooks, philosophies, worldviews. There's so many differences out there among people. To get that nitpicky and odd is indeed like it's being a screwed up like moron, basically. If you think you can hammer everyone into the same norms, it's being a nightmare to people that understand life better than you and your absurd little view that everyone should conform to you and your particular Eurocentric white European culture that you've adopted, and it's been adopted from the time that the white Europeans came over to America and kicked the Native Americans off the land and put them on Native American reservations. Okay? So that's an awfully like egocentric, ethnocentric, Eurocentric, white culturist bunch of bull, dude. Okay, have some sense, have like a better outlook on life, or at least now acknowledge your creator, that God made things that way, and now you're gonna play God over things, and you're gonna say only the people in the center here should exist. We're gonna kill off the ones on the outside here. I cut you with your death bag. Or he wants to cut you with his death bag, like Bob said in Twin Peaks, when Bob said to Mike in that dream of Agent Cooper, I'll cut you with my death bag. Okay? That's what such a person thinks like, to get rid of the ones that fall here and here, because they don't want them in society. They want everything neatly tucked away, you see. So, I don't really like agree, so. The reason why, I don't know if people know the reason why Micah Phillips Gerard lost his arm in that particular, the plot of that show. They were in like a cult together, where they put Fire Walk With Me as tattoos on their arm. And so Philip, or Mike, in order to escape Bob's cult, where they lived above a convenience store and ate sustenance food, in order to escape, he slowly cut off his whole. He has seen the face of God, and he repented of being part of this blood oath cult of Satan, basically. And so he cut off the arm that had the tattoo on it in order to escape the cult, basically. That's what I've understood about the show, mentioning that. So I tend to know the show. I know the show like for its first like couple seasons. Yeah, the reason for the Star Wars lightsaber is, I was saying in an earlier video on this channel, I think to see this thing back up. I was saying in an earlier video on this channel, basically, that one of the common interests of the early group members, before we were Sullivan's Dog, when we were the Autumn People, it was Star Wars. And Dan was one of the only people that knew this one thing about Star Wars, the whole franchise, which is at the time they had only filmed 4, 5, and 6, movies 4, 5, and 6. And Dan knew that they wanted to go back and film 1, 2, 3, and then film the ones after 6, 7, 8, and 9, which is what they really actually ended up doing. So Dan had the inside scoop on that stuff. Then I realized that's what I'm doing here. I'm shoring up the beginning of our group, the stuff that happened before the actual, the real songs that are respected. So that's going back before like Cacti and the really respected songs, and revamping or going back over the stuff from the Autumn People. That's like doing Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to cover the stuff that happened more or less after the main material of this, the stuff in For the Sake and after that, and the songs that Dan wrote that I never probably even heard, because I can reconstruct what he probably did, and the ones that I never even heard even. So I thought that would be an interesting project. That's why I was thinking Star Wars and stuff. But what else do I got? Oh, yeah. We had a song called... I just recently figured this out. Okay, this is good stuff. We had a song called High School. It was in, our early time as the Autumn People. Dan penned these words to a song, and the song was called High School. Now, what if the song High School doesn't mean literally like secondary school or the school type that students go to after middle school? What if high school means like a higher school, where you're going to a higher school of learning, you're going to a high school, or God sends people to this school sometimes, or God sends them to a place which is like a school where they're to learn something of higher knowledge and value. So God sends people to this place, and the Holy Spirit helps them learn things. So the words went, I was the only one there who didn't hear the news. I was caught out in the rain with my atomic bomb blues. I was with some friends just discussing some truths. I was blaming my dog for not paying my dues. And what was the chorus? I forgot what the chorus was. Blah 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 blah. I don't remember the chorus. I don't remember the chorus to that. Another thing I can talk about on here is the musical. We wrote this whole musical. This is after the Fritz Sake years, even, or after our band became Fritz Sake. After we graduated high school, we were in college. I was still talking with them. We started to write this musical, like, a stage musical that had like a script and had songs to it. It was called Scott. It was based upon like the what's it called? Ship of Fools, where there's a ship and a captain like at sea, filled with like insane lunar fools, so to speak. The Ship of Fools, like fable or whatever. It's an interesting one to do as a musical. So this whole script was ostensibly critical of communism. It was an open letter to Khrushchev, basically. It's very interesting characters. The narrator was a fish, so it was a guy in a foam fish costume, so to speak. He's supposed to have foam fins, and he's supposed to talk in like a New York accent. Like the year was 1965, and that's how it starts. The narrator appears a few times as the fish, and then there's a character named The main guy was Scott. Scott was shipwrecked on this ship after a storm, or shipwrecked at sea, picked up by the ship circling that was filled with like insane asylum people that are put there by a certain country, by an entity known as the Company, an unnamed company, and they're endlessly circling in the ocean doing a figure eight, receiving supplies every now and then. So this outsider comes in. His name is Scott. He was shipwrecked in a storm. He gets brought up by the crew. There's a captain named Rupert who like he has his eye patch, right? He's supposed to like act all shifty in that his eye patch switches sides, or he is shown to the audience as being not really needed somehow. Which is really sketchy. If you have an eye patch, then you suddenly lift the eye patch or you put it on the other eye. And then something in the script, there's something like I'm talking to my G4 communic or something, communique. And that was before we had the Wi-Fi G. What is it called? What is the data connection called that has something for in it or whatever. It sounds like the very same thing that eventually came about. And then there's Landon, it's one of the characters. He had a split personality alternating between Christ and being a mobster or a gangster, 1920 style. So he had these lines that I always say now, or I always like repeat the lines just to be funny. Doesn't mean I'm part of that. The line in the musical goes, this is supposed to be like a Brooklyn accent, so it goes, Jimmy Buscali, he sleep with the fishes. He read it out on Vinny like they wasn't brothers. Crap like that the Vertrone family just won't take, okay? The thing, Jimmy Buscali or like the Family Vertrone could be a spin-off musical. Scott, the Family Vertrone or the Vertrone family could be a spin-off. Interestingly enough, there's some of the other people in that. There's Landon, Rupert was the captain. Penelope was the little girl lost. This Francis is the old man who turns the crank. He's back seen on the set turning a crank, and the crank really doesn't really do anything. The crank, like the character says, the crank never sleeps. But the guy takes breaks like he would for a normal job and stuff. And he thinks if he stops turning the crank, the whole world will end, basically. So I think I should stop there. If I can find like a point to what we were saying that's relevant to now, I guess I'll say in a future video, like I can probably draw out something from this that'll make sense to talk about on here as being relevant. Certainly, that the anti-communist stuff. I'm not sure exactly how anti-communist it is when I would want to be anti-communist. Um, See, it started with all Dan wanted to see was this scene where like this guy receives his professional attire, like he sees this thing coming down in lights, like just slowly descending upon him, and the clown costume. He's received this clown costume that slowly descends upon him. These lights are appearing and shining upon it, like a shining sword, and this clown costume descends slowly upon him, and it is given him to be what he is, basically. Like a man's purpose is given to him so like beautifully. Now I'm not sure like that's the best thing to say in like an anti-communist like script or whatever. It's more critical, I feel. um maybe I can get some listener like input on that. Not sure about that, but and then yeah, Dan wanted to see guys playing shuffleboard. He wanted to see like you know a heavenly scenario where no one was concerned with anything, and they're in their like hospital gowns playing shuffleboard and having fun. Like, come on, there's nothing in life that's really that. That's you're waiting for heaven basically. So anyway, so I already talked 16 minutes. Good. I got most of what I wanted to say off my chest, so I'm okay probably. Yeah.